The autumn leaves crunched beneath my feet as I made my way through the dense, shadowy woods that lay behind my new home. My wife and I had moved here just a month ago, seeking a fresh start after the tragedy that had shattered our lives. We lost our beloved daughter in a terrible accident, and the pain of her absence had driven us to the brink of despair. But this place, with its serene surroundings and the solace of nature, seemed like the perfect refuge for our broken hearts. It was a secluded property, nestled deep within the heart of the forest, offering a sense of isolation that we craved. However, the longer I lived here, the more I realized that there was something peculiar about these woods. An unsettling air of silence seemed to hang over the towering trees, and the wildlife that once flourished in these parts appeared to have vanished, leaving behind an eerie void. The first strange occurrence happened on a cold, misty night. I was awoken by the sound of scratching at our front door. Groggily, I stumbled out of bed and made my way downstairs. With each step, the scratching grew more urgent, echoing through the empty hallways. When I reached the door, my heart froze in my chest. On the other side, a pair of lifeless yellow eyes stared back at me through the frosted glass. A chill ran down my spine as I reached for the doorknob, my hand trembling with a mixture of fear and curiosity. But just as my fingertips brushed the cold metal, the scratching stopped and the eyes disappeared into the night. I told my wife about it the next morning, but she dismissed it as a figment of my imagination, a consequence of the grief that still gnawed at my sanity. However, as the days turned into weeks, the odd occurrences multiplied. Strange whispers lingered in the breeze, and the woods seemed to be alive with a sinister energy that I couldn't quite comprehend. One afternoon, as I wandered through the woods, attempting to clear my mind, I stumbled upon a forgotten trail, overgrown with thorns and tangled branches. A sense of dread washed over me, but I couldn't resist the urge to explore. As I pushed deeper into the foliage, the trees seemed to close in on me, creating an impenetrable curtain of darkness that enveloped my every step. And then I found it. A crude, weather-beaten sign stood before me, barely visible through the gnarled vines that clung to its surface. Pete Cemetery. The words were etched into the wood as if engraved by some invisible hand. I felt a surge of unease, as if an invisible force was warning me to turn back, to leave this cursed place and never return. But the memory of my daughter's laughter, her innocent smile, urged me to press on, to unearth the secrets that lay buried beneath the soil. As I delved deeper into the heart of the pet cemetery, I discovered a small, dilapidated graveyard. It was a macabre sight filled with weathered tombstones and crude markers, each one adorned with the name of a beloved pet that had long since departed this world. But there was something else, something far more sinister lurking in the shadows. A low, guttural growl resonated from a nearby thicket, and my blood turned to ice. I cautiously approached the source of the sound, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I saw it. A hulking mass of fur and sinew, its eyes gleaming with a malevolent intelligence that chilled me to the core. It was a monstrous beast, a twisted mockery of life and death, its form a grotesque amalgamation of various creatures that had been interred in this unhallowed ground. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with disbelief and horror. It was then that I realized the true nature of this place, the unholy power that lingered within its soil. It was a place of resurrection, a cursed sanctuary where the boundaries between life and death were warped, where the departed were given a chance to return to the world of the living. I fled from the pet cemetery, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I stumbled back toward the safety of my home. But even within the confines of our house, I could feel the presence of something malignant, something that hungered for the warmth of the living. something that sought to claim the souls of the innocent. That night, as I lay in bed, the whispers returned, insidious tendrils of darkness that slithered through the cracks in our walls. I could hear my daughter's voice amidst the cacophony, a faint echo of her laughter that tugged at my heartstrings and threatened to consume me whole. With trembling hands, I reached for my wife, seeking solace in her familiar warmth. But as I turned toward her, my blood turned to ice. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and her lips twisted into a ghastly smile that sent shivers down my spine. She spoke, her voice a hollow mockery of the woman I had once loved. "Don't you miss her, darling? Don't you want her back?" I recoiled in horror, the truth dawning on me like a bolt of lightning. My wife had succumbed to the allure of the pet cemetery, lured by the promise of reunion with our daughter. But what she had brought back was not the innocent child we had lost. It was something far more sinister, a twisted abomination that hungered for the warmth of the living, a creature that wore our daughter's face like a grotesque mask. In that moment, I knew what I had to do. I had to confront the darkness that had taken root in our home to put an end to the cursed cycle of life and death that threatened to consume us all. With a heavy heart, I made my way back to the Pete Cemetery, armed with nothing but a sense of purpose and the flickering flame of hope that still burned within my soul. The graveyard loomed before me, a desolate landscape of despair and decay. I could feel the weight of countless lost souls pressing down on me, urging me to join them in their eternal torment. But I stood firm, my resolve unwavering as I called out to the shadows, daring them to show themselves, to face the consequences of their unholy actions. And then it appeared, a grotesque mockery of my daughter, her form twisted and contorted by the foul magic that animated her. But beneath the veneer of horror, I could still see a glimmer of the innocent child she had once been, a spark of humanity that refused to be extinguished. With tears in my eyes, I whispered her name, my voice a plea for forgiveness and redemption. And as I reached out to embrace her, I felt a surge of seared pain, a burst of radiant energy that tore through the darkness and banished the unholy presence that had taken root in our lives. The pet cemetery collapsed in on itself, consumed by the forces it had sought to manipulate. And as the dawn broke over the horizon, I knew that the darkness had been vanquished, that my daughter's spirit could finally find peace in the embrace of the eternal light. I returned to our home, my heart heavy with the weight of the sacrifices we had made, but also filled with a newfound sense of hope. My wife was waiting for me, her eyes brimming with tears as she embraced me, her touch a balm for the wounds that still lingered within my soul. We would never forget the horrors we had faced, the darkness that had threatened to consume us whole. But we would also never forget the love that had guided us through the darkness, the bond that had transcended the boundaries of life and death, and had emerged stronger in the face of unspeakable evil. And as we watched the sun rise over the tranquil landscape, we knew that we had finally found peace, that we had finally laid our demons to rest in the hallowed ground of our hearts.